Today's video is sponsored by PCBWay, link down in the description below, and more on them in a little bit. All right, I think it's finally time to get this shipping station moved over onto the other wall. I could really benefit from having some extra light and some actual power connected right behind the bench, so I'm not running an extension cord onto the ceiling and whatnot. So that's my plan of action for today, is moving my little toolbox out of the way, getting the shipping station moved over here and set back up so I can have my computer plugged in, my printers plugged in, and again, I don't have to have the extension cord running from the ceiling. That also means we're changing up this setback here a little bit. I think this bench is gonna have to move down all the way against the wall so we have a little bit more room for the shipping station. Also means that my flexi spot desk may or may not be able to stand here, but for the time being, my main goal is to get this shipping station moved. It's quite heavy. It's got 6 different legs on it, so I have a little bit of assistance to help me move that. I bought these little 3-wheeled dollies at Harbor Freight about 3 years ago, and they have come in handy so many times from helping me move big 4x8 work tables to my CNC, and now today they're gonna help me move this giant shipping station. Before we can move the shipping station though, I've got to pretty much take everything off of it. Not only for cutting down on some of the weight, but also because, well, I assume once I start lifting up on some of these legs that the entire contents of the top shelf is just gonna come falling off. I also have an upgrade that I'd like to see if maybe we can make happen, but I'm not 100% sure that it's gonna work just yet. So I guess for starters, main goal is clean all this crap off of it. All right, I've got most of the shipping stuff that was on the shipping station sitting on the flexi spot desk behind me. It's just the easiest place to go from point A to point B. So before we can actually move the shipping station, I've got to get this toolbox out of the way, and I think I've got the perfect spot for it over here next to Mr. Bo. Essentially, this spot keeps it from being directly underneath the mini split unit, so if we end up having a leak or anything like that in the future, we're not gonna ruin any of the electronics. Plus, there's power right off to the right where the mini split kind of comes down. So I think it's gonna be the perfect location for our electronics charging station and stuff like that, which will give us the perfect amount of room for the shipping station to move over where it is. So I'm gonna see if we can do this in like one shot, because I'd rather not take everything off of the charging station toolbox thing. The teleprompter, I suppose, can come off, but I don't really see the need for any of this other stuff to move. The toolbox is on wheels, so it should be fairly simple to move, I hope. That should work. All right, so I figured I would have to move this little stand shelf rack down a little bit, but after taking a measurement from the end of the filament rack to basically where this starts, we have 8 feet. The shipping station's only 6 feet, so we should have more than enough room to fit that here, plus maybe a trash can at the end or something like that. So these are what are gonna help me move it. Essentially, they are 3-wheeled dollies, or I don't know if they have a name on them, just a part number from Harbor Freight, PFC 099. I think you can find these for like $5 or $10 a piece. Again, at Harbor Freight or stores like Harbor Freight, but they've definitely paid for themselves over and over again, especially when you're a one-man shop and you don't have other people in here to help you move things around. And even if you did, when I sold my CNC a few months ago, there was 3 of us here and we ended up using these anyway because that thing was super heavy. So definitely recommend picking some of these up if you're by yourself or you tend to move heavier things. That workbench that all the Flashforges are on has been moved around a number of times using these, so they definitely come in handy. Given that this bench has 6 legs, I think what I'm gonna attempt to do is ignore the middle section and put one on each leg on all the 4 corners. And hopefully the unevenness of my shop won't leave the middle one still sitting on the ground. Now, it might not come across on camera very well, but the shop kind of slopes into the center here quite a bit. There's a drain in the floor that I have covered up by one of these floor mats, and I would venture to say it probably dips down 3 to 4 inches in this particular spot over here. In fact, I've got these two legs propped up on a piece of wood, so that should be interesting as well. Basically, what I'm gonna try to do is just lift this part up, slide the piece of wood out, and get one of these dollies underneath it. There, here. There, there. All right, we're kind of on I guess a high spot in the center here. Luckily, these feet come down a little bit. I'm not sure if they'll come down all the way we need them to. So it looks like we're gonna end up being a little short on this front part here. All right, so basically the same exact way that I had it set up before. It looks a little bit wonky, but it's kind of what I have to do in this situation because the floors are so unlevel. I've basically just got a piece of wood that I may or may not replace later on with something a little bit different, maybe something that looks a little bit better. I suppose I could lower all the legs and mess around with it that way, but so this is basically as high as it goes, so I don't really have any more room to lower one specific leg down, but I mean, it's pretty sturdy, pretty solid. It's gonna work for what I need it to anyways. PCBWay offers 3, 4, and 5-axis CNC machining, 3D printing out of FDM, SLS, SLA, MJF, and PolyJet. Of course, PCB manufacturing, sheet metal cutting, and injection molding. For the month of October, PCBWay is offering up to 40% off on all TPU prints done using FDM, and PCB prototyping starts at right around $5. Head on over to PCBWay.com today, upload your design, and get a free instant quote to see how PCBWay can help you get your project started. Links are down in the description below, and thank you to PCBWay for sponsoring today's video. So each of these is on its own separate kind of stand, if you will, so I can pop this little peg out and move it anywhere I want. So what I'm thinking is move all of these boxes, these containers from the right side over here and stick them underneath the other set. And then I've got this IKEA Skadis board. And if you've ever seen a Skadis board, it's similar to a pegboard, except it's, in my opinion, it works a little bit better. But basically you can print out a bunch of accessories for this. I have it set up on the kind of the wall behind me. It has some of my sander mounts on it. Anyway, what I'm thinking for this is I can put tape up, I can put pen holders up, maybe my stapler can hang up on here, tape holder. Maybe we can even create something for the shipping scale that kind of slots it in place. When we need to use it, we can pull it down. Just stuff to kind of free up the desk space a little bit. And I don't know if you can tell, but now that this is over here, the lighting is so much nicer. The other thing is behind here, behind here is the power port, the outlet. So my thought is if we attach the pegboard somehow like this, it'll pretty much hide the outlet back there. Actually, that might just stick for a minute. It'll hide the outlet back there, and we can kind of route everything either down and under or down and around just to keep it a little bit neater. The main perk of this, though, is now this can hold all of the things that were up on the other side, kind of keep it in a more organized area, something like that. Then I've got all this other room on the other side that I can work with. Typically, how this Skadis works is you've got a main bracket that screws into the wall here and here, and then you've got little pegs or pins that come with the Skadis board itself that go through this side and this side. I don't know, so that's not gonna fit that way. My thought is instead of using these holes, maybe we can just come through one of these more rectangular holes that are on the actual back of this mount. Because this is already offset from the wall, we don't really need these offsets that would normally go on the back side of it. At least that's my thought anyways. All right, this one might take me a minute to figure out. This method is a bit unconventional, but I've got these little, I don't know what size they are. They're M something or other. And then I've got these threaded inserts. They just so happen to fit together. So my thought is put one of the threaded inserts on the back side and just feed this through. It's a little bit big for the Skadis board, but it's MDF, I believe, so you're able to just kind of let the threads thread itself in there. My only concern is I don't know if I've got room on the back side to actually fit this threaded insert in. Can't actually see it. Gonna try it with all the rest of them, and hopefully by 2 minutes from now, we'll have an entire Skadis board up. All right, so this is a super unconventional way of mounting Skadis board, but just so happens that these little bolts and threaded inserts just barely fit. So that's nice and secured, attached to that. It's not going anywhere, which means now we can either design or find parts that are readily available on printables, Maker World, sites like that to mount some of our stuff up here. Like scissors would fit much better on the Skadis board than they do inside one of these little blue bins. I'm also thinking some shelves for our CA glue and activator, things that we normally use on a day-to-day basis or even when we're packing stuff up. But before I go ahead and do any of the prints for this, I want to get the shipping stuff set back up here because it's crowding my desk. Okay, so with the FlexiSpot desk in place, you can kind of see the limitations. However, I'm still able to walk all the way over to this side of the workstation. Obviously, I have full access to this side. And the good thing about the FlexiSpot desk is I've got it on wheels. So all in all, I'm not opposed to keeping it in this kind of setup like I have it here. If I end up having more things that I need to ship out and I need to use this table to kind of stack stuff, it actually might come in handy. So I can deal with, the few items that I'm shipping out at the desk right now and kind of have my product laid out over here. So I'm thinking it actually might work out in my favor to have that FlexiSpot desk there next to the shipping station. So now, onto the shipping station. Now we've got plenty of room up above here, except I've covered up a portion of these holes to make room for the Skadis board. So I think my main focus is gonna be on getting stuff to that Skadis board or getting stuff on that Skadis board. Stuff like this little paper cutter, we can probably come up with something that hangs it up similar like that. Our little scale can probably get set somewhere up here. I definitely want a spot for the tape gun, the CA glue, and probably this tape measure as well. And I'm sure there's other things that I'll come up with as I get to using it that would be much more beneficial to have right up in front of me than it is to just scatter on the desk. So luckily for us, there's a few different websites we can go to. If you just search Skadis models, 3D printable Skadis models, you'll find a bunch of them on sites like Printables and Maker World. In fact, these are just a few of them that I found on Printables. As far as something like a holder for this tape gun, there's already a model online from user Brink Hoopla, and I'm fairly certain that it's gonna fit this end. Basically all it is it mounts into the Skadis board. He's got a model for the Skadis board, one that should attach to our wall anyway. And it just allows the tape gun to sit vertically, and whenever we need it, we can lift it off and put it to use. We've also got sites like scappa.build, where you can come in and tell it how many different layers you want, or levels you want rather, and it will generate a model based off of the dimensions that you put in. So if we want it to be deeper, we can adjust that. And this one's a super quick way to design a holder, a bucket, something like that. If we wanted something to hold, for instance, our activator and CA glue, we can take a measurement of all of these items put together, and it will generate a model that's gonna work for that. Maybe something like that. There's also a customizable OpenSCAD file. You can either download it and open it in the OpenSCAD software, or you can customize directly inside of Maker World, and it's the parametric model maker. So you can see here the designers basically got this set up so you've got the little hooks for the Skadis board. You can adjust your bin depth, generate it. It'll extend this out a little bit more. You can change the height of the bin. You can also change the width, and there's a whole bunch of different things you can do. You can have it have multiple compartments on the inside. So if we wanted one compartment for our activator in one compartment to hold both the bottles of glue, we can do that. You can play around with it, kind of customize these to fit your needs. The other thing about this is there are quite a few different models that are on here from designers already. So like I was talking about with something to hold up our scissors, we've already got a little hook basically that we can use to hang things like scissors. We can hang little knives or cutters like this guy. So we could even search something like Skadis scale holder. So this guy's created a little tiny slot that basically holds his scale on the side. I don't know if it'll fit our scale in particular, but you can see just by doing a quick search, there's plenty of things online you can find. There's another one right here for a mini scale holder that might fit our scale a little bit better. It's simply got the Skadis hooks on the back. So something like this, I would probably print in an orientation like that and just have supports to hold all of the little Skadis pegs up. So with all of that in mind, I'm gonna go through and figure out exactly what I have in the shop that I want hung up on this Skadis board, find some models, print them out, and whichever ones I choose, I will link down in the description below. That way, if you have something similar, you can print it out and put it on your own Skadis board. All right, these are all off to the races. I think we've got an hour and 49 minutes on this machine only because I set it up to print 3 or 4 of the objects that we need for the Skadis board. 85X is loaded up with some Elegoo PET G, printing out our bin for our CA glue and activator. And I just sent these 2 models off to the P1P. The right model is our scale holder, and the left one is gonna hold our stapler. And again, none of these are gonna take a substantial amount of time, about an hour and 45 minutes for each machine. We've got 3 machines running right now. That should take care of everything that I've found that I need so far. I'm sure I'll find things like a pen holder now that I think about it that I could print out. I need something for the tape measure now that I'm looking at it. So I'm gonna get some of the A1 minis loaded up with some of those things. So by the time that these machines are done, we should have pretty much everything we need to get our Skadis board all fancy looking. Scissors can probably go somewhere like this. Nope, because I can't pull them out. So let's put these guys down towards the bottom. I'll probably rearrange this a time or two before I figure out exactly how I want this set up. But for the time being, I think I messed up on the sizing for this scale. I mean, I didn't mess up. Whatever the shipping scale that I chose obviously was much smaller. It tells me it might not have been a shipping scale. That's not gonna work. We do have the holder for our tape gun though. Again, I'll probably end up moving some of this stuff around as I see a better fit for things, but at least for the time being, you can get some of this stuff installed. And that can sit like that. I did print out something else, but again, slightly too small for my use case. But we've got plenty of room though to figure other things out. Like I said, our CA glue dispenser is printing out right now on the P1P. So kind of what I'm thinking for that is maybe somewhere down here, try to utilize this area first, and the shipping scale, maybe when we get that all figured out, can go somewhere right around here. But for now, I'm happy with the few things we've got up, especially with this tape dispenser. That's something that I've been needing for quite some time, and glad to finally have that there. I am gonna look around for a few more things though. The scale, I'd like to be able to utilize that, so probably will look for something a little wider. If I can't find anything, then I'll just go ahead and design my own. These are super easy to make as long as you have your spacing set up, and you can get actual Skadis STL or 3MF files online. That way you can actually line these guys up in the proper distancing. Well, minus a few things, I think we've accomplished pretty much everything that I was looking to today. Got the shipping station moved over onto this wall. I finally got more reasonable power to it. And most importantly, I've got the Skadis board up with all of my go-to shipping supplies, my CA glue, tape measure, and a few other things. I'm sure I'll move it around as time goes on. I'm already looking at it going, I'm not gonna be able to get those scissors out. So those will probably have to go to a different place, but for the most part, I'm very happy with how things are laid out here. And if you have any improvements or suggestions of things that I could do with this Skadis board, maybe something with this plastic wrap, let me know down in the comments section below. I'm always open to hear your guys' opinions and take some of those into consideration for making improvements to my setup. If you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and smash the subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next one. If you want to see another video, I've got it queued up for you right over here. Take care, folks, and thanks for watching.